The Mysterious Old Radio Listening Society podcast. Welcome to the Mysterious Old Radio Listening Society, a podcast dedicated to suspense, crime, and horror stories from the golden age of radio. I'm Eric.
I'm Tim.
And I'm Joshua. We love mysterious old-time radio stories, but do they stand the test of time? That's what we're here to find out.
This week, we present another episode from our listener library featuring suggestions from you, our mysterious listeners. Bart writes, I absolutely adore your shows. The commentary is fantastic and all the episodes are timeless, even if they don't stand the test of time. I'm sure you get a ton of these, but would you consider featuring A World of Darkness by Suspense? It is my absolute favorite episode of the series. I think the writing is amazing and the performances are equally as impressive. Thanks, guys.
Suspense was an anthology series that aired on CBS from June 17, 1942 to September 30th, 1962. CBS spared no expense on the pilot, an adaptation of The Lodger starring Herbert Marshall and directed by the master of suspense himself, Alfred Hitchcock. Today, Suspense is considered by many, including your esteemed hosts, to be one of the greatest radio dramas of all time.
A World of Darkness was written for Suspense by Robert L. Richards. Over a period of 10 years, Richards wrote more than 50 scripts for Suspense, many of them based on short works by famous authors such as Ray Bradbury, Cornell Woolrich, and Dorothy L. Sayers. Despite his numerous adaptations, Richards is best known for one of his original contributions, the horror masterpiece, The House in Cypress Canyon. Outside of radio, Richards wrote several notable screenplays, including the film noir classic Acts of Violence and the celebrated Jimmy Stewart western Winchester 73.
Sadly, Richards was blacklisted during the Red Scare of the 1950s and was unable to find work as a writer. After several unsuccessful attempts to work under a pseudonym, Richards gave up writing entirely to become a carpenter, eventually retiring to Mexico. And on that depressing note, let's listen to A World of Darkness from Suspense, originally broadcast January 20th, 1944.
It's late at night, and a chill has set in. You're alone, and the only light you see is coming from an antique radio. Listen to the sounds coming from the speaker. Listen to the music, and listen to the voices.
Roma Wines presents Suspense. Roma Wine, made in California for enjoyment throughout the world.
Salud!
Your health, senor. Roma Wine toasts the world. The wine for your table is Roma Wine, made in California for enjoyment throughout the world.
This is the Man in Black, here for the Roma Wine Company of Fresno, California, to introduce this weekly half hour of Suspense. Tonight in Hollywood, Roma Wine bring you the distinguished actor who has just won the New York Film Critics Award for his performance in Watch on the Rhine, Mr. Paul Lukas. The suspense play which stars Mr. Lukas and which is produced and directed by William Spear is called A World of Darkness. And so with the performance of Paul Lukas as the musician named Anton Rizak, to whom the world was a world of darkness, we again hope to keep you in suspense.
All patrol cars in J area, J for Johnston. All patrol cars in J area go to 325 West 52nd, 325 West 52, the theatrical rooming house. Homicide. This is homicide. A young woman stabbed. That is all.
Okay. Is everybody here now? Yes, I think I've got all of them.
Is Mrs. Collins, Mr. Farrell, Miss Walker, Mr. Gunther?
Yes, they're all here, Lieutenant. You're the landlady, Mrs. Washburn, right?
Well, if you want to be blunt about it.
I'm afraid I'm a blunt man. Maybe it's a business I'm in. Last night, a girl was killed in this house. According to the coroner, it happened about 2 in the morning. She was killed in a particularly cold-blooded manner, stabbed. And that's murder. There's no two ways about it. Now, you're intelligent people. You're all connected with the theater.
No, not all. Not all.
Franz is my sort of caretaker, handyman.
Yes, handyman. But not to do with that theater, that place of sin and abomination.
Don't mind him. Franz has always been a little prejudiced.
I know when the sword of righteousness is ready to strike.
Where were you at 2 o'clock in the morning?
I was in my room waiting.
What were you waiting for? Now, look, don't you people realize what you're up against? Till you can account for your actions last night, you're all under suspicion of murder. What makes you so sure one of us did it? Oh, you were Miss Nancy Cullen's fiancé, is that right, Mr. Farrell?
Yes.
What were you doing last night?
I was out walking.
Anybody see you?
I don't know. I don't think so. How do I know?
What were you doing out walking around at 2 o'clock in the morning?
Well, after what happened,
Oh? What happened?
Oh, nothing. I was upset, that's all.
Why don't you tell him the truth, Daniel?
The truth? What's the use of all this talking? It's not going to bring her back.
What did you mean by that, Mrs. Collins? What truth?
It's not my place to say. Daniel considers it a personal matter. It couldn't have had anything to do with what... Oh, I'm sure no one is concealing anything of the slightest importance. Everyone loved Nancy. Everyone. Please. I know what you're getting around to. Why, Kay said everyone loved her but me. That I hated her. But I didn't. Well, not enough to do a thing like that.
Where were you at 2 this morning, Miss Walker?
In my room.
Can you prove that?
No, of course I can't. That's the whole thing, don't you see?
No, listen. Who's playing that piano?
That's Mr. Rejek in the room across the hall. He's a musician.
Does he live here?
Yes.
Well, why didn't you tell me? I thought you said everybody was here.
No use talking to him. He doesn't even know about it.
Will you please let me handle it?
Really, Lieutenant, he couldn't tell you anything. You see,
You get him in there, Haggerty. Go get him. Okay. Now, listen. You people have got an awful lot of explaining to do. None of you can prove where you were or what you were doing or why you were doing it. What about you, Mrs. Collins?
You don't think... After all, I am poor Nancy's mother.
Mrs. Collins, I'm just trying to get at the facts. You have the room next to Nancy. Didn't you even hear anything?
No. I've had insomnia for years. I have to take a strong sedative every night. Here comes Mr. Rejek.
Oh, Mr. Rejek, I'm sorry to disturb you, sir. I didn't realize
That I was blind? Oh, it is no matter. I was waiting for you to send for me, officer.
You knew the police were here?
But of course. Oh, Mrs. Washburn, has anyone seen anything of Carl yet this morning?
No, not yet.
Who is Carl, Mr. Rejek?
My Belgian police dog who guides me. He has wandered off somewhere. Although I cannot say I blame him. It is not much fun being a companion only to a blind man.
Oh, well, he'll come back. That kind of always does.
Oh, I'm not worried. But now you wish to speak of the terrible thing that has happened to poor Nancy.
Oh, you know about that?
Unfortunately, yes. By the way, here is the key to her room. It was locked and you were obliged to force it, were you not?
Oh, why, yes, but how did you...
How do I have the key? And how do I know? You see, I'm a blind man. But there are many ways for a blind man to know many, many things.
Yes, I see.
Poor Nancy. Poor child.
How much do you know about that?
Quite a bit, I'm afraid. I know how she was killed. I know why she was killed. And I know who killed her.
In our Suspense theater, murder was unseen in the dark, but the crime was witnessed by a single human being with the eyes of night. Roma Wines is bringing you Paul Lukas as star of Suspense in the Robert L. Richards story, A World of Darkness. Have heard the prologue for tonight's tale of Suspense.
Before we return to the scene of our drama, let me take a moment to offer a practical reminder. Sudden calls on your hospitality suggest the advantages of having several Roma wines always on hand. For smart and gracious entertaining, nothing can take the place of a glass of Roma wine, whether as an enjoyable beverage by itself or on the table with meals. And look how economical entertainment centered around good wine can be. Only a few cents a glass when you choose the largest selling wines of America, Roma wines. Location of Roma wineries in favored wine districts of California and Roma's vast experience and skill as winemakers explain why wine connoisseurs of other lands hail Roma wines and keenly enjoy them. So you know you are complimenting your guests' good taste when you serve Roma wines, made in California for enjoyment throughout the world.
And now it is with pleasure that Roma Wines bring back to our sound stage Mr. Paul Lukas in A World of Darkness, a tale well calculated to keep you in suspense.
You think it is a great affliction to be blind? Yes, in a way it is. If he yields to it, it can make a man bitter and distort his mind. But if he struggles against it, there are merciful compensations. In time, he reaches out into the world again and finds he can perceive the meaning of the life around him without his eyes. The world of darkness becomes to him a place of utmost sensitivity to other things, to touch, to smell, but above all, to sound. The ticking of a watch, the rustle of clothing, the sound of breathing, or even the beat of a heart. I have only to focus my attention on a sound so distant or so slight as to be utterly imperceptible to anyone else. And to me it is magnified and amplified 100 times. Last night, though sitting in my room and confined in my eternal darkness, I heard what I could not see. And I was witness to a murder. The bells of Trinity had just rung the 3/4 hour. They are at the lower extremity of the city, but I always like to listen for them. It was 1:45 midnight. I was about to go back to my piano. I had been working on a little composition of my own when I heard Nancy coming down the street from the direction of the theater. She was walking very fast. It was clear to me that she was disturbed about something, so I knew she would want to see me. I waited for her knock.
Anton?
Yes, Nancy, come in. You are troubled. What is it?
How did you know?
You know I can always tell these things. See, even Carl knows.
Oh, hello, Carl. He's so nice. You're both so nice.
Carl and I. Huh? You know he loves you, Nancy.
I think he really does.
Almost as much as he loves me.
I know. Oh, I'm going to miss you both terribly.
You are going away?
Anton, I'm going to marry Danny Farrell.
To marry?
Yes, he's quitting the stage and he's going into the army. I'm going with him. That's what I want to tell you about.
I see.
Anton, you've always been so good to me. You've helped me so much, and I've always felt that you liked me.
More than that, Nancy. I'm very, very fond of you.
Oh, Anton, you're the best friend I've ever had.
But I'm nearly twice your age and blind.
Oh, that doesn't matter. We've had some wonderful times together.
Yes. And now you wish to talk to me because you are still not sure you have made the right decision, hmm?
Yes.
Now, to leave the stage now, just when you are having the first time such a wonderful success.
Oh, it isn't that. I've always hated the stage.
Hated it? No, Nancy, now. You're a very great talent.
You can't have a talent for anything you don't like. And you can't like anything you've had crammed down your throat ever since you were barely able to talk.
Oh. It's your mother.
She's counted on it all these years. She sacrificed everything for my career. Oh, Mother loves me in her way, but sometimes she's so strange. When I told her about Danny tonight, I thought she was going to have a stroke or something. I've seen her angry before, but never like this.
Oh, it will pass.
Anton, for a minute she looked insane. I was frightened, really frightened.
Listen.
What? Anton, what is it?
Your mother, leaving her room. She will be coming down here to look for you.
How do you know?
The rustle of her satin robe. I hear it often. Perhaps you better not speak anymore just now of your little trouble.
Oh, I shouldn't have bothered you. I know it must seem childish and silly to you.
No, Nancy, it is not for me. But perhaps your mother will not like it that you confide in others.
But how could you know that
Nancy?
You see?
She is coming.
Nancy?
Yes, Mother.
Oh, there you are.
I thought you might be here.
Good evening, Edna.
Nancy, you really must come upstairs now. If I'm going to have your new dress ready for the equity party, I've got to cut it from the pattern tonight, and I want you to help me.
Mother, I'm not going to the party.
Why, Nancy, of course you are. It's very important.
Mother, do we have to go through it all again?
Nancy, dear, I'm sorry I lost my temper this evening. I know this seems like the only thing in the world that matters just now, love and all. But you simply can't walk out of the lead in a hit play and ever expect to be successful.
I don't want to be successful. Can't you get that through your head?
After I've slaved and skimped and planned all these years.
You'll be all right, Mother. There'll be enough.
I'll be all right. I'm not thinking of myself. I've never had a chance to think of myself. Only last week I drew every penny of my own savings and took out an insurance policy on you. $100,000. So that you'd have something for your old age.
You shouldn't have done that, Mother.
And now you want to throw away everything I've done for that harebrained boy.
But Edna, if Nancy is in love...
You keep out of this.
Mother, please.
Oh, I've watched you too, Anton Rejak. But I knew she wouldn't have anything to do with a blind man.
Mother.
You couldn't see her. But you could touch her, couldn't you? You could be in love with her. Well, I hope you see now what a fool you've made of yourself. You fool. You blind fool. Fool.
Down, Carl. Quiet.
He struck me.
I'm sorry.
You deserved it, Mother.
I think you'd better go now, Edna.
Nancy, I want you to come upstairs right away. We're going to cut out your new dress tonight.
Oh, Anton, forgive me.
No, it is nothing. I'm sorry I did what I did, but I was afraid she would become hysterical.
Anton, I didn't know. Believe me, I didn't know.
No, I did nothing. You had better go up to her now.
Yes. Oh, I'm afraid.
Oh, but there is nothing to be afraid of.
Yes. But I'm afraid.
I could not sleep, although it was late. I tried to go back to my work, but my attention wandered. I could not keep from mind from what was going on in that room upstairs. I heard each sound as clearly as though the cause of it were there at my very side. Nancy was weeping, and against the sound of her tears, like inexorable counterpoints, the scissors, deliberate, mechanical snipping and crunching of heavy dressmaker's shears, cutting material on her table. Then there was an interruption. Footsteps running up the stairs. The footsteps of Danny Farr. I knew what would happen then.
Mr. Collins, you've got to listen.
So I did not want to listen. But for a moment I did.
Danny, I don't know what to do.
Well, it's about time you found out, isn't it?
I shut my mind to it. I didn't want to hear anymore. There was to be another quarrel, another agonizing scene. And then presently I heard the steps again. Slow and heavy this time, coming down the stairs. They went towards the front door instead of to his own room. He was going out. I did not know what he might do. I went to my own door, and as casually as I could, I opened it.
Oh, hello, Anton.
Why, hello, Danny. Were you going out?
For a little walk.
It's late.
I guess it is.
I'm sorry, Danny.
You know about it, do you?
Yes, Nancy told me tonight. There was a scene with her mother again. But it will come out all right.
Oh, no, it won't.
Why?
Nancy's changed her mind. Or rather, her mother's changed it for her.
The poor child.
Anton, Nancy's a lovely girl. She's the loveliest girl in the world. But she's weak.
Oh, but we are all weak in one way or another.
But she doesn't know what she does to people. She doesn't know the torture she puts people through.
No.
I can't stand it any longer. If I can't have Nancy, I'll do something.
Danny, it will be all right.
It can't be all right. How do I know it won't go on like this after we're married? Oh, I'm crazy, I suppose, but
I know how these things are. Two young people in love cannot be kept apart by anyone or anything in this earth.
No, Anton. I thought it over and over every way there is. It won't work.
Oh, come in.
Anton, I didn't know you were here, Danny.
Okay.
I just heard the news. Over at the theater. Congratulations.
Thanks.
I suppose I had to say that. You know I don't mean it, Danny.
Please, Kay,
I don't think you love her, Danny. I don't see how you could.
Kay, I don't want to talk about it tonight.
Are you afraid to talk to me, Danny? Are you?
I'm sorry, Kay. Good night, Anton.
Danny. Danny, listen to me. Danny!
Oh, let him go. He's upset tonight.
He's upset. He's upset.
Kay, stop it. Get hold of yourself.
I love him. I love him. I can't let him go.
Oh, but you must, don't you see? He's going to be married.
Before she came along, he couldn't even think of anyone but me. She planned it very nicely. Just the way she's planned everything else. She doesn't care how many lives she wrecks, including his. But it won't be so easy this time.
Kay, you are talking foolishness.
Listen, Anton. Before I'd let her get away with this, I'd kill her. So help me, I'd kill her.
She left me at last. I paid no heed to where she went. I was disturbed and troubled. I sat in the darkness of my mind thinking. Then I heard steps again. Those odd, dragging steps coming towards my door. Franz?
Yes, Mr. Reed.
Did you want to see me, Franz?
No, I was only listening.
Listening? To what?
Don't you hear it? The beating of the wings? They've been close about the house all evening.
Oh, have they?
The time is very near. Are you a good man, Mr. Rejack?
I don't know, Franz. I try to be.
The Black Angel with the bright sword of righteousness and vengeance. Do you think we can escape him?
Well, I hope so.
No. Don't you know what goes on in this house? Haven't you seen them? With the painted lips, the tinkling rings and bracelets, and the vanity and the scoffing?
Yes, Franz. What have you in your bag there?
Oh, here, my tools. Always I work day and night. There's a dripping faucet up in Miss Collins' room. I have to fix it.
Dripping faucet? Oh, yes.
What's the matter, Mr. Rejack? Did you think of something?
Oh, yes. I was thinking that I must take Carl out for a walk. Oh, now, Carl, down.
Hello there, Carl. He's a fine dog, eh?
Franz?
Yes.
Go along. Do what I told you. It's late.
Yes. I do what I'm told. Remove out of the midst of Babylon and go forth out of the land of the Chaldeans. For this city will I humble to the dust, and this house will I make a place of weeping and desolation.
The moment the old man called my attention to the faucet, I had heard it. When I went back into my room, I still heard it. I heard the old man tinkering with the pipes. Then the dripping grew less and stopped. Then the shears began again. Those long, sharp scissors cutting the dress. I forced myself to return to my work, and for a while I heard nothing more. And then I heard it. The dripping had begun again. But this time it was no longer water that was dripping. It was then that I knew. I sat frozen with horror. It was the most terrible sound I had ever heard in my life. At last I got up and took my cane and went to the door. Carl wished to go with me, but I closed the door on him. It was later, somehow in my confusion, that he slipped away. I started up the stairs. That terrible sound grew louder. It came from Nancy's room. I had just reached the top of the stairs. There was no way for anyone to leave Nancy's room except in my direction. It was then I heard the telltale whisper. The murderer had passed me in the darkness. I went to Nancy's door. There was no need to go in. I knew what was there as surely as though I had seen it happen with the eyes I no longer have. For I could hear the steady dripping of her blood. I closed the door and locked it. I put the key in my pocket. I wished to make certain that the criminal would have no chance to return and cover up any evidence of the crime. Then I returned to my room to wait for you officers of the police to come. And now you would know, as I knew, why Nancy Collins died and who killed her.
Well, do all you people here confirm what Mr. Rejak says about your movements last night?
Wait. What did you mean about the telltale whisper?
Oh, what is the use of any longer pretending, Edna? You killed her. Now you must pay for it.
No.
Now, doubtless you have already found her fingerprints on the scissors with which Nancy had stabbed.
Oh, naturally, they were Mrs. Collins' scissors anyway.
And I have a suspicion that you will find the insurance policy she took out on her daughter's life only last week that makes Edna Collins the beneficiary in the event of Nancy's death.
No, I didn't do it.
You better take her along, Haggerty. All right, come on.
No, please, wait a minute. Maybe I've been selfish, but I loved her. He's lying because he hates me for what I said. No, please.
Well, Mr. Rejak, I guess several people owe you their thanks for this.
And you owe me nothing. If it could only bring her back to life.
Come in.
We found Mr. Rejak's dog, ma'am, down in the cellar. Been there all night. Here, Carl.
Carl, my poor old Carl. Here, Carl. Carl, what's the matter now? Where are you? Grab him for the back. Yes, pull him right back. Carl, what's the matter? Don't you know me?
Mr. Rejak, you say you shot your dog in your room before you went upstairs last night.
Yes.
You certain?
But of course.
And you say you did not go into Nancy Collins' room after you discovered the murder?
No, I did not.
Well, that's very strange, Mr. Rejak. Because your dog did. His coat is matted with her blood.
I realize now that the dog must have followed me. I heard him whimper when I struck. Then somehow he disappeared. But before I locked the room, the beast must have fawned on her where she fell. Yes, I killed her. It is no matter now. She will marry no one now. Nor will I. Yet it is true I heard those things. Yes, most of them. You would be amazed what I can hear. Now, even from where I sit, I can hear the men at work at the place where they will take me. Although that place is many miles away. They are hammering on the scaffolding in preparation for me. And now they are clambering up on the platform. And now they are about to test that ingenious device that will snuff out my life. Listen. They spring the trap.
And so closes A World of Darkness, presented by Roma Wines and starring Paul Lukas. Tonight's tale of Suspense.
In just a moment, we'll hear again from Mr. Lukas. First, though, let's visit one of the great airports in our country. The afternoon Clipper has just landed in the USA. A North American and his newly arrived visitor from south of the border are about to take a table at an airport cafe.
Well, Elliot, I promised to return your visit, and here I am.
I'll try to make things as pleasant for you here as you made them for me in your beautiful home in Las Palmas. How about some wine before dinner, Carlos?
Oh, thank you. Some sherry, perhaps?
Certainly. Waiter.
Oh, Elliot, can we get here that wonderful Roma wine we had the day you left my country?
Well, of course, Carlos. Here we can have Roma wine anytime.
To wine connoisseurs abroad, Roma wines are a rare treat because shipping now is difficult and duty is high. But here at home, you can enjoy these great wines as often as you like. For Roma wines of all types are made in our own California. Highly prized and high-priced elsewhere, Roma wines here cost little enough to be served even at everyday family meals. And what a difference they make in meal enjoyment. Why don't you surprise your family tomorrow with delicious Roma California sherry? You never tasted finer. You don't need a special menu or special glasses either. Just chill the wine beforehand, and when your folks come home, pour them a delightful glass of Roma. Almost all wine dealers have complete assortments of Roma wines. They're America's largest selling wines. Ask for Roma, R-O-M-A, made in California for enjoyment throughout the world. But before you buy wine, buy war bonds and stamps.
This is Paul Lukas again, ladies and gentlemen. Germany murders her cripples. We protect ours, have them back to normal lives. And we fight the major cause of crippling, infantile paralysis. Every night from now till January 31st, sort out all the dimes you have, then enlist them in the March of Dimes. Send your contribution to President Roosevelt at the White House. It's the American way.
Thank you, Mr. Lukas. Next Thursday, same time, your stars will be Virginia Bruce and Alan Jocelyn in Suspense.
Presented by Roma Wine, R-O-M-A, made in California for enjoyment throughout the world. This is the Columbia Broadcasting System.
That was A World of Darkness from Suspense here on the Mysterious Old Radio Listening Society podcast. Once again, I'm Eric.
I'm Tim.
And I'm Joshua.
And that was a listener request as we are continuing to go through those requests this summer to get out as many as we possibly can. And that one came to us from Bart. And Bart said nice things about us, and so I'm going to say nice things about Bart. I think you're an awesome guy, and handsome, and very talented. All right, so I picked this from the list because Joshua told me to do this one.
You did it quite well.
Yeah, Joshua kind of picked this one for me, which is fine because Joshua knows that you really can't go wrong giving me an episode of Suspense. I'm going to be happy, especially when it becomes a detective-y parlor mystery. If you'd put them in South African jungles and looking for the Ark of the Covenant on top of it, it would have been... and a guy in a mask with a silver bullet.
We just entered Eric's head momentarily, ladies and gentlemen. It is a world of darkness.
So Bart says it's his favorite of Suspense. So let me just start with... no, Bart. No. No.
Oh. The honeymoon is over.
The honeymoon's over. The Suspense and everything they did, I'm not quite sure how that one can be your favorite.
Whoa, wait a second. This comes from a guy who just said, if only this were set in a jungle with a guy with a mask and a silver bullet. Can you see how what speaks to someone can be very idiosyncratic?
Yeah, I think that would be a great story, and someone should write that. A parlor room mystery in a jungle.
With the Lone Ranger, yeah.
Bart, here's the deal. I think Suspense has written so many great stories. It's just hard for me to go, that's my favorite. I think it was really well done and a great story. That's really, for me, wow. To say that's your favorite Suspense is,
Well, there's a difference between what you might critically say is the best Suspense and what is your personal favorite, or of anything.
Yep.
I love listener requests for this reason, because often these are things that people have listened to and have a personal meaning to them that we just don't have that context. And so sometimes what it does is force me to go back because I love our listeners. And if there's an episode where I'm like, this doesn't speak to me immediately, but it makes me dig in. Like, for example, if you guys brought something that I didn't like, I'd be like, I can't wait to see these idiots justify it. But
right.
For our listeners, I feel like I'm going to go back. And I think this one in particular rewarded a second listen for me.
I agree with that.
There's so much that came to the surface in here for me.
Every line has two meanings.
Don't get me wrong. Let me make sure this is very clear. I think it's great. I'm saying that's a hard thing to say that's the best Suspense. But then again, what was on a country road? I would get a lot of argument from a lot of people when I say that may be the best Suspense for me. Cary
So that
Grant's
was
on a
like
country
top
road.
5 old-time radio ever.
Correct.
Yep, and others might disagree with you.
Yeah, absolutely.
Starting with 2 people in this room, maybe.
I thought this was super fun. It was just fun to listen to it the first time through for just the situation of it's a murder investigation and everyone that's suspected and the only person who's a witness is vision impaired. It's just unfolding things like that, and it's just drawing room mystery that I love. And then the second time through again, it's like now that you know what's going on, everything has this extra meaning.
Let me articulate, or try to articulate some of the...
I doubt you could top that, but go ahead and give it a try.
Some of the extra meaning that I think maybe Tim's trying to get at. Or maybe not. One of the things I loved about the narrator being blind is that very quickly Anton becomes a listener, just like you. There are those portions of the script in which he is just hearing Nancy cry, the sound of the sewing scissors and footsteps. And at one point he even says he doesn't want to listen. He shouldn't listen, like it gets too tense for him. And he actually describes the act of listening to Suspense, the radio show. You know?
Right.
And I think that metatextual level makes it really intriguing.
It was also fun being a little judgy about it. Of, Antoine, you are a great storyteller. You are terrible at giving evidence. If you start with, I know who did it, I know why, maybe that's the first thing the police would like to know.
Right.
Well, I think this relies heavily and intentionally on these murder mystery cliches.
Yes.
We have so many extreme motivations here, from the insurance claims, from a jilted husband, a jealous woman, a crazy lunatic handyman, which is maybe not a stereotype of murder mysteries. He's the guy who stands out as the weirdest
Have you
guy.
seen One Day at a Time?
You're right.
Wait,
Schneider?
are you saying One Day at a Time is a long-running murder mystery about who killed her husband?
Yeah. Wow. If it was...
That's my favorite episode of Suspense. the entire series of One Day at a Time.
I like the introduction of all of the suspects. I liked the setup. You know, the cop gets them all in a room and then says, one of you did it, and then, by the way, you called him vision impaired, and Joshua called him blind. I'm not sure now in my 52-year-old body.
Sure, blind is fine.
Fine, good. Blind guy comes in.
Eyes don't work, guy. I'm using the language that the play uses.
Right.
Yes, so blind fool. Blind fool. You can't see.
So bringing him in and having him then say, I know everything, and then retelling it from that standpoint. I thought the setup and the premise and all of that was great. I know what you're saying about their characters and their motivations being a little over the top and tropey, if that's a word, tropey, but I don't mind it because
the only
you gotta
thing
have
that I
reasons.
was bothered by was the fact that they were so extreme that you knew it couldn't have been any of them. And
Right.
so I feel like it pointed too soon at Anton, or at one point I seriously was suspicious of the dog.
Did you not hear me when I was listening?
I laughed because he said, the dog did it.
I yelled out while Josh was in the other room as I was listening to it, and I went, oh, it's the dog. Well, he's matted with blood.
If a dog came at me with a pair of scissors, there'd be a lot of issues that need resolving.
Right. I want to just bring this up, and I think we brought it up before. There is something wrong in America in the time of old-time radio for naming animals. we brought this up before. What, did we not figure out how to name a dog? Like, they're always the worst name. Carl is a terrible name for a dog.
There is a classic children's book about Carl the dog.
There is?
Matted with blood.
Yes.
I don't think that's Carl. I think that's Marmaduke. Are you thinking of
no, there's a classic kid
Clifford?
about Carl. He's a big, I don't know.
Red
what kind
dog?
of dog he is.
Clifford?
No, it's not Clifford. But I think also in your book that's a dumb name for an animal, right? Clifford. You
Yeah.
want them to all be like one syllable. Spot, Duke, King.
King. King's a good name.
Jerk.
King, that's Sergeant Preston of the Yukon's dog name.
Exactly.
It's also my dog's name, so there.
Yep, we know
You're
how
Sergeant
your
Preston?
dog.
Carl,
The name of the dog aside.
it's a stupid name.
Oh, man.
One of the great moments, I think the greatest moment in this story is the moment where we move from the dripping faucet to Anton's realization, as well as the listener's realization, without even saying it, that is not the sound of water dripping, but
Right.
Nancy's blood. And part of the reason I think it's really effective is that it's been built up to, in that we know he can hear things really acutely. If this came out of the blue, if it hadn't been really well set up, it would be like, what? He can hear blood dripping? But it had been so carefully described up to that point that it had this just moment of horror when you realize what that sound is. And there's also a great nod to Edgar Allan Poe and the Telltale Heart in that he's the murderer, he's the guilty guy, and he's hearing the blood drip. And he's describing that to the police officer, and they even use the term the telltale whisper when he's trying to frame the mother, describing the sound of her robes. So that totally all passed me by on that first listen. So I think those are the details that really elevate this story.
Well, no, there's also all the little beats of when Danny is talking to Anton about the way she behaves and the way she drives people nuts.
Or even you were laughing at the, you fool, you blind fool. But it's a great moment where the script shows you the violent tendencies of Anton, but because it is such abusive language the mother's using, it hides that. Right? Because he strikes her when she says that. But it's so awful that you aren't suspicious of him, right?
I'm sorry, there was a moment, again, where the theater of the mind just fires wrong. Like, did the dog slap her?
That's the theater of your mind, Tim.
Yeah,
It's
yeah.
very different from...
Sometimes I need a second take on these.
I wish.
Carl!
Get down.
Well, you're going to have a duel with Carl.
I really also am a sucker for the unreliable narrator. I love retroactively realizing the person who's been telling the story is a criminal and a liar, and he even confesses that everything I told you was true. Well, most of it was, and even leaves you guessing, where he embellished and what was real and what wasn't.
What was the Jack the Ripper one we had?
Yours truly, Jack the Ripper.
Yeah, with the unreliable narration that I really enjoyed that twist on that, and I didn't see that coming. So this makes me a little stupid maybe, but you guys seemed to be on the level of we knew it was going to be the vision-impaired blind guy. I really didn't know who did it. I thought the reveal was going to be that through his other heightened senses, he was able to solve this crime for the police officer. I did not see it coming that he was the guilty party.
I didn't see it coming right away, but
I was suspicious, but I didn't have a... that's certainly this guy.
I actually thought it was over when they started to haul Mom away. I was like, aha. But
that happened so fast that I went, okay, there's a twist. It's suspense. It's got to have a stinger in the end. I wasn't entirely sure what it was, but that did basically leave it to be either Anton or his dog. Because they did make a big deal out of the dog, and where was the dog, and he's missing. And so you knew,
that's right.
You knew there was some bit of mystery yet to be solved.
Right.
It was hard to tell how many of the things that he did were meant to be deliberately taken as a clue. He's acted very strangely, and how much is just, we need this guy to do this weird thing for the plot reasons. So, someone's been killed, I better lock the door, and then leave, and just assume the police will come looking for me eventually because I have the key.
Yes, I see what you're saying. It makes sense for him to explain to the police after the fact why he did it, but it doesn't make sense why he did it in the first place.
Yeah.
Or he just really didn't want anyone to go in there until the police got there. But yeah, you're right. A little bit of a plot hole. But again, this is that heightened detective mystery world.
Well, it's a little bit of a plot hole, but also sort of stands out of that's a suspicious behavior. That's a little hint that he's not what he seems to be.
True. It's littered throughout there. It's very carefully crafted. Even down to, and I thought this was another interesting detail about the heightened listening as part of the story, when Franz, the crazy handyman, when he talks about, have you heard? Can you hear? When he's talking about the angel of death.
And at the end, he can hear the scaffold being built a mile away or whatever it was.
Yeah, that reminded me of that version of the Telltale Heart from Inner Sanctum that we listened to. With Boris Karloff having the heightened hearing. It was a nice touch, and I love that the last sound was just the spring of the trap on the scaffold.
Yeah, that was a moment for me when he could hear that far away that it started making me think again, and I'm so sorry, but I frequently think about what a nightmare it would be to be Superman. And when do I get to sleep? When do I stop saving people? I can hear everything, and that would be a nightmare. And I hope that that's not true for blind people. I'll tell you what's not true. The quote at the beginning, you're all intelligent people. You're all connected with the theater.
Yes. My exact note here was, if only that were true.
Apparently, we were held in a little higher standing back in the day.
I have to believe that cop was being sarcastic.
Or if we went back in time, we'd be gods. No?
No, I have an old sign that I got from a vintage store. I think it's circa maybe 1930s or 40s of like an old boarding room sign that says no theatricals allowed. I do not think they held us in higher regard back then.
I was hoping you were going to say, theater people are stupid. No theatricals need apply.
Paul Lukas, it's interesting. I should have included this in the intro. This
is where Bart's gonna be mad. You're gonna be mad. Everybody's gonna be mad.
What did you? Did you hit my car? What did you do?
Paul Lukas was okay.
I thought you were gonna say he's like who you call when you can't get Bela Lugosi.
Okay, that is exactly right. He's a poor man's Lugosi, that Lukas.
Here's what I liked about his performance. I liked that he seemed so mellow and sweet, and it was a nice red herring for the eventual conclusion. Yeah. However, in the context, which I didn't include in the opening, is that he was a hugely popular actor in the day. He had, the previous year, just won an Oscar for Best Actor in Watch on the Rhine. He beat Humphrey Bogart in Casablanca that same year, and
is absolute nonsense.
Gary Cooper in For Whom the Bell Tolls. So,
which is absolute nonsense.
I haven't seen the movie, He might have been fantastic in it.
I am going to see it.
I'm getting mad at this guy.
Paul Lukas, you SOB.
I did make a note when I was doing a little research on that I need to see that Rhine movie because I don't know it.
He did the role on Broadway, too, and then stepped into the
better be good
film version.
I just saw Casablanca again the other night, and it's one of those movies you go, oh, I've seen that a million times. And I realized it's been a long time, since I sat and watched that beginning again. And, man, it is good.
It's a great film. But in all fairness, Humphrey Bogart is just Humphrey Bogart in every single film.
Yep. Well, there's no doubt about that.
Yeah. Well, we're going to watch
this Rhine movie.
Yeah.
But in this, the Lukas guy, is that his real accent?
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
Yeah. He
because it
was
sounds
born
made
in
up.
Bulgaria.
Yeah. Like Lugosi. But now we realize that all of those accents are based on Lugosi's accent. Blah, blah.
I'm sorry, I said Bulgaria. I meant Budapest.
Oh, well,
So
good thing
I'm
you corrected
sorry.
that. Listeners all over Bulgaria throwing their desks, storming around their rooms.
The last thing I want to say is that insert for the March of Dimes, he just comes in and goes, Germany kills her
their
cripples. I mean,
Yeah,
it's just
yeah.
like, whoa! And
Yeah.
I mean, I
Right?
bet they got a lot of money after that. That is just short and sweet. Give money to the March of Dimes. It's the American way.
Yeah.
That was powerful stuff. And I always love listening to these things that are still during that wartime. And this was entertainment to distract you from these real-life horrors.
What's interesting about stuff like that for that war was there didn't need to be a lot of sensationalized propaganda. You could just say exactly what was happening to win over.
And I think that's what struck me so
Sentiment.
much is that you're
'Cause
used
they
to a little
were.
bit of propaganda, but for someone to just come out and in 2 sentences state this horrific fact and then go, okay.
But it's not
tune in next
exaggerated
week.
or anything. They
no,
were.
it's not.
They
That's
were.
what I mean. Like,
And so-
propaganda is
right.
usually exaggerated, and here
Yep.
it's this minimal
Yep.
approach that is startlingly effective.
It's hard not to give money after that.
Yeah.
That's like Animal Humane Society commercials, man.
Oh, man.
I don't know how they're not the richest people on the planet.
Poor Carl.
I'll start the voting. It's Suspense. It's a classic. It stands the test of time. It was really good. Thank you, Bart.
I'm now starting to worry that I give out classic too much, so
Yeah.
I'm going to overcompensate and say it stands the test of time, and I'm going to withhold classic status. Thank you, though, for recommending it, Bart. The stereotypes get a little big for me, but it's a lot of fun and very well written.
Yeah, I agree totally. Stands the test of time. A little short of a classic for me, but I can see why this would appeal to a listener. And I think the second listen was really rewarding. And again, I really appreciate having these listener requests to sort of really dig in and listen to these from a different perspective. It's fantastic.
What is
Thank
it
you so
you're
much.
hearing? What is it that you see in this,
Yeah.
and why don't I see it? When I was in college, I sat down and borrowed all of the Bruce Springsteen albums from a guy down the hall because I said, once and for all, I got to figure this out. I got to figure this out. And I listened to every one of them like 3 times. And I walked out of my room, and he looked at me and said, well, I handed him the albums back and said, I just don't get it. But I tried, man. I tried. All right. Tim, tell him stuff.
Please go visit ghoulishdelights.com. There you'll find other episodes of this podcast. We got a lot. Oh, my goodness. You can also get a hold of us through that website. There's a contact page. There's links to our Facebook and Instagram accounts. You can also see a list of friends of the Society. We have a little list of links to organizations that have been super nice to us, including Monster Kid Radio, the Wall Breakers, and 12 Chimes at Midnight. All worthwhile organizations. Please check them out.
Yes, you can also go to patreon.com/themorals and become a member of the Mysterious Old Radio Listening Society. We have special rewards for different levels of support, including a members-only monthly podcast, Secrets of the Mysterious Old Radio. So you want to check that out, and please go to iTunes and write a review, because we enjoy those too.
So next time, we'll be listening to an episode of X-1 called Mars is Heaven. Until then.
Look out! Now, you're intelligent people. You're all connected with the theater.
Yes.